Hey, everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan podcast where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. What's going on, Barry?
I'm feeling good, man. Why you sounding so monotone? You ain't eat your Wheaties today? What's going on? You didn't have your Raisin Bran? What's going on with you? You all right?
Nah, yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right.
It wasn't hot today. You should be feeling good.
Nah, just rainy and gloomy.
I like the rain, especially with a fireplace. I like the rain. I like water. Anyway, friend, how you doing? You doing good?
I'm hanging in there. You know that.
You hanging in there? All
Yeah.
right, you keep hanging.
So
So what we got going on tonight?
I'm going to talk about Lamar Lundy. Now, he may or may not be a household name, but he played with some guys that definitely were. Okay. He was he grew up in Richmond, Indiana, where he was a two-sport star in high school in basketball and football. And he led his basketball team to the state finals. He was an all-state football player, and he was the first Black student to get a football scholarship at Purdue.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was a prolific scorer and rebounder. He was 6'7". Okay. And he was named MVP in both basketball and football in his senior year. Now
Mm.
that got the attention of the NFL and the NBA. But he chose to play football, and he spent 13 seasons with the Rams.
Mm.
Now, he played with Merlin Olsen, Rosie Greer, and Deacon Jones as a member of the Fearsome Foursome.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
yeah. Now, these guys, they all did some acting, right? But his claim to fame was that he played the Cyclops in an episode of Lost in Space.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, that was his claim to fame. And he also played Iron Man style. So he caught 35 passes for 584 yards and 6 touchdowns. And he also returned 3 interceptions for touchdowns.
Mm.
Now, after he retired, he became an assistant coach for the Chargers under Sid Gilman.
Hmm.
But illness cut that uh, career short. And unfortunately, he died in '07 at the age of 71 from a number of illnesses.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it was sad, but he was a member of uh, both the Indiana Football and Basketball Hall of Fames, and he was a member of University of Purdue Hall of Fame. So he was quite a prolific athlete.
Hmm.
I mean, he just did it all, and he excelled at both of them, you know.
At
So
a very high level.
yes, he did. He did. So what's going on with Miss Biles?
Man, let me tell you something. Let me say this for the record. Simone Biles is a true champion.
Mm-hmm.
Not only does she excel on the floor, and I think the daggone girl defies physics, right?
Mm.
But probably the one of the greatest things I saw is how she's used her fame as a platform to help other athletes and gymnasts reach their full potential out of her own pocket.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Then she shocks me again by pushing another teammate who won the some medal, some apparatus that Simone could have competed in and probably won.
Mm.
But she opened up the door for this other young lady to get the opportunity to win gold, and she did win the gold. And I'm telling you, I'm like, why don't we just make Simone Biles the head of the IOC? Because obviously she gets it. Obviously, she. You know, obviously,
Definitely.
you know what I mean. And I mean, I'm just sitting here laughing at all her critics and all these people saying this, that, and the other, and oh, how is she gonna do something for her own mental health? Yet, all there's no talk about all the things she's done, not only for herself but for others, and pushing them forward. Even what I think she did at the last ceremony when the young lady from Brazil won the gold,
Hmm.
and how they saluted her because the girl had overcome three, not two, not one, three ACL knee tears in order to,
Mm.
and she
Yeah.
won. She's the most famous gymnast in Brazil, athlete in Brazil. And, just to show that graciousness of really
Mhm.
competition and the sacrifices these athletes make. That's
Oh,
why,
definitely.
I got to talk about the money, Joe, but I ain't going to get
Hmm.
ahead of myself. These athletes in 2024 need to be at least walking away from these games with $1 million tax free. Come on
Yeah,
now. Stop
yeah,
it. Come on. Come on.
yeah, yeah.
Right? Come on. You're gonna leverage their name, image, and likeness to make millions and billions of dollars. And every 4 years, you can't break them off a piece, and so they can walk away and live a decent life. Did you see what the Philippines did for one of their athletes who won the gold?
Uh-uh.
I'll get to that next time. I don't want to hold it up. You remind
Okay.
me next time. It'll
All
shock
right.
you. It'll
All
shock
right. All right. Well, the Knicks, they named Jalen Brunson their 36th captain. And he's the first captain since Lance Thomas in 2018. So now I believe, he's shown his leadership throughout the playoffs. So I
you. Yeah,
believe he's earned it. Definitely, he's earned it. Now his contract is interesting because now it's going to be interesting to see when Randall's contract comes up, what they're going to do. You know, because now a lot of teams, they're looking at what he did and they're saying,
yeah.
hey, you know, you know. So that's going to be really, really interesting when all of that plays out, you know. So now Embiid, he stepped up and he dumped in 14 points and 7 rebounds against Brazil, and they couldn't do nothing with him in the paint. So they beat them handily 122-87. Now, KD,
Okay.
yeah. And KD came off the bench. He got 11. Now, that put him past Lisa Leslie for the most points scored in Olympic history.
Mm.
So he's etched in history now. Now, this set up the rematch with Jokic and the Serbs. And man, they were down 17, and it took LeBron's triple double, Steph's 36, and Embiid's 19 to eke out a 95-91 win.
Hey, I'm
So,
trying to tell you.
so
I,
this. So now they get that. Now they're going to play Wemby and the French on Saturday after
hmm
they took care of Canada, and so this is going to be really, really, really interesting. Now, the women, after that ass whooping they took from the All Stars, they finally got it together. And led by Asia Wilson, Brianna Stewart, and Brittany Griner, they beat Nigeria 88-74. So, they shot 54% from the field and they just handled the boards. They just took care of the boards. So they're going to face Australia on Friday for a spot in the gold medal games. So this is all getting very, very interesting now. Now it's getting down to the money,
yeah, yeah.
you know?
All where the cash is.
Yeah. And interesting thing about Embiid was he was booed by the French because he didn't play for the French team.
No, I don't
So,
want to play for my oppressor.
so,
Why would I want to play for my oppressor?
so on that note, What's going on with the Ant-Man?
Now, this is a very interesting scenario, Smarter fans family. Now, see, you remember like over the last 3, 4 years, Ja Morant was looking like he was going to become the face of the league, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he got himself mixed up with a lot of off the floor things, not keeping the first thing, caught a
Mm-hmm.
couple slaps on the wrist. He didn't learn his lesson. They slapped him a little
Mm-hmm.
harder. He didn't learn his lesson. Then they really slapped him over the head. Now, see,
Mm-hmm.
as I was explaining to a couple friends of mine, this is what some athletes don't realize. You may be hot now. You better seize the moment
Mm-hmm.
because anything can happen,
Yeah.
right? So now, those 3 or 4 years, which should have resulted in a big max contract for him, delayed that from happening. Now he's 4 years older, and there's a new face in the league, Ant
Yeah.
Man, who's younger, who's got more upside because he's younger,
Mm-hmm.
and as long as he keeps his nose clean, he's going to get that max. He may get three of them before he's done. And so I was explaining this, and people I was talking to said, "Man, you're probably right." So he's going to have to fight to get himself back in the position, John Morant,
Mm.
and it may not happen. It may not happen
No.
because of all the shenanigans. And I said to them,
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what his parents are thinking and what he's thinking now. Like, where were all those people that were such a distraction? Nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found. They don't have 2 or 300 million to pay you, but they're there to ride your coattails and ride your career into the ground because you let them by not
Yeah.
keeping the first thing, you
Mm.
know? And
Yeah.
so that's the nature of the business. You can be
Mm-hmm.
hot, sizzling, you the tastiest thing in town. But if you miss your bus and somebody else becomes the new Yaya,
Yeah.
and Ant is right now on the biggest platform in the world,
That's
the
right.
Olympics,
That's right. So.
right? So his name is echoing through the halls with all the money. Can
Mm-hmm.
we market him? How marketable is he? Oh, people will receive him well. Oh, we can monetize him and make a couple billion and pay him 400 million. That's the game.
Yeah. It
Got as
certainly
Coach
is.
Prime says, you got to keep the first thing the first thing. Got to keep the
That's
first
right.
thing the first thing.
Well.
So yeah, man, that's what I got for you on Ant Man and John Morant. You got to keep your eye on the prize. What
That's
you got
right.
going on?
Okay, I'm going to switch gears a little bit to the NFL. Now,
All right.
NCAA, they decided to close the barn door after the horses are out with Jim Harbaugh. Now, they handed him a 4-year show cause order for recruiting violations, non-compliance, and refusing to cooperate with the investigation. So, so this what this means basically is he went back to college. Whatever school hires him, they got to suspend him for the first year, and he can't participate in any team activities until the order expires.
Who's
So
this?
Jim Harbaugh.
He's in the NFL.
Exactly. That's what I mean. They closed the barn door after the horses were open, after the horses left.
Man, the horse, the chicken, the cow, the goat, all of them got out the barn.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So, but anyway, now the injuries are, I find this interesting now because
Uh-huh.
in the NFL, like it used to be you were worried about players getting hurt in preseason games. Now these guys aren't even making it out of training camp. I mean,
Yeah,
Christian McCaffrey.
I think they need to change. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, yeah. And these
It,
guys
it, it
also,
doesn't make any sense.
yeah, they
They got
all
to
got
figure out
pros.
something because it can turn your whole season upside down.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because Christian McCaffrey, he's got a calf injury that he's nursing. You know, Russell Wilson has a calf injury now. You know, Justin Fields is going to start the first preseason game in his place. You know, Sam Williams, he's a DE for the Cowboys. He tore his ACL, so he's done for the season already.
See, I don't think, in my humble opinion, these guys are having to work out all year. And they don't really get a lot of rest when the season's over.
Mm.
So you got these bodies under a tremendous amount of strain in a very violent game. Something's got to give, and these bodies are given. 18, I, 18 games is a long season plus the playoffs.
Uh,
That's a
well,
lot of football. That's a lot of wear and tear of your body. I mean, I don't even think, Joe, the guys get 2 or 3 months off before they're back at it.
yeah,
It's
but
unsustainable.
the thing is, they're not practicing with pads because they're not letting them hit with pads anymore. So they're not getting their bodies in condition for the season.
They can't get
That's
to it, Joe.
so it's an interesting dynamic right now. So
They got
there's
to
a
get
lot of
these bodies more rest.
and there's a lot of hamstring injuries. You know, the Rams, 5 of their offensive linemen went down.
Yeah, the body has to rest. See, to me, you know what they need to do? They need to
Mm,
expand the rosters.
mm, yeah.
That's what I would want to do, right? So I can carry more people, right? And I wouldn't, I would phase who I think is going to start. I would play my second and thirds. I wouldn't play my ones. I would phase my ones in more towards the preseason, and
Mm,
even that would be minimal. They've gotta reduce somehow the wear and tear on the body. It's not getting enough, and that's why these things are happening. In my humble opinion, the
yeah.
body has to have time to recuperate. You can't
Yeah.
keep beating on it, beating on it, beating on it. Something's going to tear and break.
Yep. And it has. It
Yeah.
has.
So I
So
mean, play the guys who, to me, play the guys and keep the guys. Because I'm telling you, with this long season, you're gonna need bodies. You're gonna need bodies, buddy. You're gonna need bodies. They need to expand the roster by at least 10. You need enough bodies. You really do. There's just no way. You're playing
well,
too many games, in my humble opinion.
yeah. Well, on a sad note, the Cowboy family lost another one in Duane Thomas.
Who?
Duane Thomas.
Oh,
He
really?
he
The
passed
original
away.
33?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he passed away Sunday, I believe, at the age of 77. Now, he had a tumultuous career at best. I mean, he was in a contract dispute with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
So and he refused to report to camp. So they traded him to New England along with 2 players for Carl Garrett and a draft pick. So he didn't he gave them problems up there in New England. So the commissioner stepped in, sent Thomas back to the Cowboys, and sent Garrett and the 2 players to New England. Now, and New England compensated the Cowboys with a second round pick, and that pick turned out to be Robert Newhouse. So
Mm.
something good came out of it, you know. So then he was traded to the Chargers, and he refused to report there. So they traded him to Washington, and yeah, so he wore out his welcome there, and they waived him after not reporting in the 75 season. So he did a couple of stints in the WFL and the CFL, and he finished his career with the Packers in '79. You know, he scored the first TD in the new Texas Stadium. So
Let me tell you something. Duane Thomas, That guy could run that ball, man.
Yes, he
He
could.
should have really went down as one of the greatest running backs in the NFL. That guy could run that ball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
So
he
yeah.
was out of Tom Landry's own mouth one of the greatest athletes he's ever coached.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. So what's going on with White, the role player, as
I
they say?
think a lot of these players could learn a lot from the New York, the Celtic young man. His last name is White.
Yeah,
I've been
Derek.
watching him play, understands his role, plays his role, and a lot of these guys can learn a lot from him. A
Mm-hmm.
lot, a lot. A lot of these guys who think they're superstars or are labeled as superstars, the guy plays like a winner. Like,
Yeah.
I really got a new level. He needs to get his dental work done, but I got a lot of respect. I got a lot of respect. I was
Yeah.
just watching his game, and I can see why he's a pro. You know,
Yeah.
I can see how he's a pro, and he probably and people don't realize that when you see a player playing a particular role, it doesn't necessarily mean that he can't do everything else you see other people doing. He's just been called on to play a particular role. And then
Mm-hmm.
people are like, well, somebody was thinking, like, well, what do you mean? I said, I was in college and I saw Charles Oakley play
Mm-hmm.
in college. Charles Oakley was a prolific scorer,
Mm-hmm.
prolific. But
Yeah. Yeah.
moving on to the NBA, he was asked to be and to do something else. And that's what he became,
Yeah.
right? And people are like, are you serious? I said, go look at the tape. Go look at his statistics in college. He could he could score the ball. And I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's what people don't understand. Because
Yep.
sometimes what you have to do in order to make a roster, you got to fit a particular role in order to get, because there's only one ball. There's only one ball.
Yeah.
Somebody got to play, somebody got to clean up, somebody got to do some other things. Yes, sir.
Well, that's why the Knicks was so successful in the playoffs this year because everybody knew their role, you know?
It's key to
And
winning.
yes, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens when Randall comes back.
Yeah, yeah. I think that I think a lot of people are going to be surprised.
Mm, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. That's for damn sure. So, but anyway, so we'll have to pick this up again next week.
Well, I
So,
have one more piece,
okay.
and then we can move it on. I'm just going to give you a little something. NFL, NBA, the $1 trillion opportunity.
Mm,
Until next week, Smarter Fan family, remember, stay in the game.
that's right. Stay in the game.
See you next week.
Smarterfan.